Hello, everybody. Welcome. Thanks for coming to check out this talk. Originally, this was going to be a little bit of a Bitcoin 101, just some basic stuff. Decided to not do that, and they graciously accepted that choice. So thanks to Jordan for the curveball I just threw you. But I wanted to do something that was of interest to everybody in the room, and I recognize that at a lot of these things, everybody's at a different point in their Bitcoin journey. And so there's probably some beginners in the room, there's probably some people that have already done a number of the steps that one does at the beginning of their Bitcoin journey, and then there's probably also some people that have done a whole bunch. They're running the nose, they're doing all kinds of stuff. So this talk is tailored so that you as an individual can kind of follow along and pick the point where you are. And so I'm going to preface this talk by saying I'm going to give you homework. And what I want you to do is, throughout this talk, pick the point that you have currently gotten to, and then see what the next thing I have is. And I want you to go home after this conference, or whenever you get home from Miami, if this isn't your home, I want you to go home with the intention of doing that next thing, of stepping outside of the comfort zone of where you already are and go beyond that next thing to try. And so I titled this The Path to Self-Sovereignty, Obtaining, Securing, and Using Your Bitcoin as Trustlessly as Possible. And so I'm going to be throwing out a whole bunch of things here that enable you to obtain, as I said, obtain, secure, and use your Bitcoin without trusting a third party, or with as little trust as possible. And you don't necessarily always have to do all of these steps. I think it's a good final goal to get to, and I want to set you down that path. But I think it's important that you start learning some of these things, and you take some new step to push you in a direction that makes you more self-sovereign. So, without further ado, first question for you guys is, how sovereign are you? If there was a crackdown tomorrow that forced every custodial Bitcoin service to shut down, seize their customers' coins, or disclose their previous purchases, would you be affected? How do we minimize trust and single points of failure while also improving our Bitcoin privacy? Is there such thing as the perfect setup? While perfection may evade even the most seasoned Bitcoiners, there are steps you can take today to gradually and meaningfully improve your individual sovereignty. So, let's level up. So, overview. Let's make yourself as self-sovereign as possible, as sovereign of a Bitcoiner as possible. And you can do this in many ways. There's many different angles of attack. And so here's a few things that you may want to dabble in. Try getting Bitcoin without KYC. What is KYC? Know your customer, having to provide personal information, all of your ID and your firstborn child just to get a few sats. That I recognize that's a reality, and that's most people's first touch point with Bitcoin. And in some cases, I don't fault anybody for going that route, but I do think it's important that you become familiar with tools to do it otherwise, because if stuff hits the fan, you want to know, well, I've already done it the other way, so I'll just go back to that method. So holding your Bitcoin in a non-custodial way. I'm sure a lot of people in the room already do that, but if not, hey, there's your next step. Securing your Bitcoin with hardware. So you don't want it just sitting on a hot device, aka you don't want the keys to your money sitting on an internet-connected device like your phone or your computer, especially if it's your life savings. You want it more secure than that. Verifying your Bitcoin, verifying the rules of the network, and verifying that the coins you think you own, you actually do own, using a node. Obfuscating your Bitcoin via CoinJoin, breaking the links between Bitcoin that you had and where it may be afterwards. Using Bitcoin with Lightning. That's very important as of late, learning how to get yourself onto the Lightning Network, being able to transact freely without having to give up custody, and Spending your Bitcoin, circular economy is something that's very important. Being able to transact amongst your peers, not having to go through rubber-stamped agencies, not having to go through approved means, but actually knowing people in your community, being able to get goods and services that you trust with Bitcoin. And then, to go a bit further down the rabbit hole, really locking down your life savings with multi-sig. So I'm going to touch on some things that I've tried, and I'm going to kind of go through all of these. Again, I don't expect every person here to say, I'm going to do all of those things tomorrow. I want you to zero in on where you currently are, and I want you to pick that next step and try. And it may be, hey, I've only had Bitcoin on Cash App, and that's all I've ever done. That's totally fine. Next step, figure out how to get it non-KYC. So you figure out where you are in this talk, and you go from there. Okay, let's talk non-KYC coins. Getting Bitcoin without having to provide all of your personal information. So it goes without saying that leaving coins on an exchange is bad practice. We've seen plenty of that. FTX last year, the big one, but tons of examples, especially in the past year and a half, 18 months or so. So that's a bad practice, but what about using exchanges at all? If you are concerned about data on your holdings falling into the hands of malicious individuals, governments or otherwise, you may want to consider using a non-KYC method to obtain at least some of your coins. And so what I often say is, if you use your KYC method to obtain Bitcoin, that's fine, but maybe you'd also like a secondary stack where you start slow, you gradually build up, but you use one of these methods to obtain Bitcoin that doesn't have a history, where if things really went sideways and all of a sudden you're not allowed to own Bitcoin and they throw an executive order 6102 at you Bitcoin style and try to confiscate your Bitcoin, all of a sudden you have Bitcoin that nobody knows about. That's not a bad thing to do. So some examples of how you can get non-KYC Bitcoin. Non-KYC exchanges include RoboSats, BISC, HODL. HODL I find quite easy to use. You basically sign up with an email address. You don't need any other identifying information. They have tons of different payment methods. RoboSats is really cool, really unique, and very simple to use. I find better for smaller amounts. BISC, a few more hoops to jump through. It's been a couple years since I really dove into it, but again, another great method. Local meetups, peer-to-peer. Come with cash to a local meetup. No better way to get KYC-free sats. Non-KYC ATMs, if those things still exist, maybe you might be in a jurisdiction that happens. Mining from home. If you're able to get cheap power, you don't even really need to be making any sort of profit. You could be at break even, and you can consider that, hey, I'm just obtaining KYC-free sats. Why not? Even if you're at a little bit of a loss, just consider it the premium for privacy. And you can also, of course, earn Bitcoin for goods and services. I've been living on Bitcoin since 2020. That's the majority of my income. I do still get dollars from time to time, maybe 10%, maybe a little bit more, something like that. But I earn Bitcoin. That's my income. That's what I live on. And a few more hoops, but ideologically, I'm happy to jump through them. All right, let's get into wallets. How you're going to actually hold your Bitcoin. What are you going to use? There's a lot of options out there. These days, again, it comes to desktop and mobile. There's just so many different ways in which you can hold the keys to your Bitcoin. They vary in user experience and complexity. Some key features you may want to look for include things like managing multiple accounts. Maybe you want a hot wallet and a cold wallet, and you want to have segregated places where you're holding coins so you can differentiate. Maybe you want things that have special features around your fees. Most Bitcoin wallets are getting better with that, given the current environment. You want to be able to bump your fees if it's taking a long time to go through. Hardware compatibility. If you've got different hardware wallets, you maybe want something that supports everything that you're using, or a variety of different ones. Coin control. and we'll get into this later, but coin control, if you're concerned about privacy, that's a good feature to have. If you don't know what it is, we'll get to that. And then Lightning or Liquid, depending on your flavor, depending on what you want to use, those could be features that you might be looking for too in a wallet. So some of the logos here that you see, Sparrow Wallet, I will say out the gate is my de facto desktop wallet. I love Sparrow. I think it's fantastic. It is advanced. It has lots of features, but I find that the tool itself is the learning mechanism. When you get in there, you start with the basics, and then you start asking, what is this button? What is this graph? What is this feature? And it forces you to be a better learner. Common ones on mobile, Blue Wallet, a lot of people are familiar. Spectre is very interesting in that it forces you to have a node connected to it. If you haven't used Nunchuck, very interesting. Pairs great with some hardware options. Moon Wallet I was using, and that's the bottom right there. Moon Wallet I was using frequently up until recently with the fees and everything. They were doing Lightning in a weird way. They're going to have to do some retooling. So maybe not Moon currently, but I have high hopes that they'll do some retooling and figure out their stuff. Let's chat hardware. So getting your assets KYC free and into your own custody is fantastic, but you're going to want to secure long-term holdings with hardware. Most devices like the one shown here will do the trick for you depending on your preferences. That said, some key things you want to consider. Number one, do you like the interface? Do you like how the actual device functions? What do you prefer? Is it open source? Can you actually verify that it's doing what it says it's doing? Does it have a secure element? So a secure element basically is a segregated chip that holds the keys to your money. And if it does have one of those, then it's if somebody gets a hold of it, they're likely not going to be able to extract the keys to your money. Some of these devices, well, one of them, sorry, two of them actually, do not have a secure element. So that means, yeah, you're shielding yourself a little bit from a remote attack. But if somebody gets a hold of your physical device and has a little bit of time and know-how, they'll be able to extract the keys to your money and access them. Can it be used with alternative wallet software? And I typically do recommend using the alternative wallet software. So what that means is some of these devices come with proprietary software. Oh, hey, we are Trezor. Use Trezor Suite to set up and potentially continue to use your device. And you can use Trezor, obviously, with other types of wallets if you don't like, but the initial setup, without jumping through a whole bunch of hoops, you effectively have to use Trezor Suite. Ledger, which had a nice little announcement earlier today, which I think may have been scrubbed from their website and Twitter since, but Ledger, they have proprietary software. You're using Ledger Live to set up and use your Bitcoin hardware device, and they recently announced that they're going to offer a service where you basically KYC with them, you give them your ID, and they'll upload pieces of your seed phrase in the cloud. And so this, I'm kind of hearing this through the grapevine and everything, and I guess there's a big kerfuffle about it. But like, if your device uses proprietary software and then has to upload to the cloud, maybe I don't know. Do you enjoy that feature? I would not, but nonetheless. So, you know, at the time when I made these slides, that was not out. So, you know, maybe look a little deeper into what Ledger's trying to do before you decide on that device. But there are a ton of options out there, and you know, if it's been around for a while, it will likely at least do the trick for you, and it'll be better than sitting in a hot wallet. So the ones that are up here, by the way, top left, that's Cold Card, Ledger, then Trezor. The one in the middle is a BitBox 02. Down at the bottom, bottom left is the seed signer. That one's very interesting because you can build it yourself from run-of-the-mill computing parts, so nobody even knows that you actually have a hardware wallet. Middle one is Keystone, bottom right is Foundation Passport. One other note, whenever you're ordering a device, it's very good practice to use a PO box. Ledger, they're not having a great run of it, but they leaked a bunch of customer data previously, and so people have just been inundated with spam and mail and all kinds of stuff, and so yeah, just be cautious. Use a PO box if you can. Okay, let's move on. So we talked about getting Bitcoin. How do you get Bitcoin without having to necessarily trust somebody or trust your data to somebody, your personal information? We talked custody, the basics of custody, of downloading an app and using it on your computer or your phone. We talked storage, like long-term cold storage. How do you secure your Bitcoin for the long term? We had a whole bunch of options there. Some of you may have gone maybe just that first step, just gotten Bitcoin somewhere, not even non-KYC. That's fine. Maybe you're starting there. Some of you have probably gotten up to hardware. Okay, I'm at hardware, single sig, one device. I'm securing my Bitcoin. Great. That's awesome. That's further than a lot of people get. Let's go further. Everything through your own node. So a full node is simply software hosting a copy of the Bitcoin blockchain. That includes the entire history of transactions and the rules that govern the network. If you are not running a node, you are trusting someone else to do it for you. I'm going to say that again. If you are not running a node, you are trusting someone else to do it for you. When you're running a node, you can connect wallets to it so that you don't trust anyone else to feed you transaction info. If you download an app on your phone, you get your 12 or 24 words, you write them down, you've got your app, you bought Bitcoin, you sent it to your wallet. That's fantastic. You hold the keys to your money, but are you sure about the data that you're seeing in the wallet? Are you positive that you own that Bitcoin? Somebody sent you a whole bunch of money. Are you positive about the data that you're seeing? If you want to be sure, you can link that wallet to your own copy of the Bitcoin blockchain, which is running a node. Furthermore, if you're running your own node and you're connecting your own wallets to it, it prevents you from leaking transaction data whenever you use somebody else's node to verify. So if you just use your own wallet that you downloaded on your phone and you're sending and receiving transactions, that's going to somebody's node. They're seeing that action. If you're just connected regularly, they're going to see an IP address, potentially a location. Okay, that begins to be data that can be linked to you and particular transactions. If you're going through your own node, that data is going to your own infrastructure. It's a lot harder to kind of hone in on that. You can also protect yourself from anyone trying to change the rules of Bitcoin, like the supply. And I think the best example of this, not specifically the supply, but the core foundational rules of Bitcoin. Back in 2017, in the last panel, they mentioned the fork wars or the block size wars. People wanted to change how Bitcoin worked. And not the whole reason, but a good part of the reason that Bitcoin continues to be what it is today is that individual people during that process were able to say, you know what? I'm going to run my own node. And if you change Bitcoin, my node ignores that change. My wallets do not recognize that change. I'm looking at the rules here, and what you've just done do not fit within that. It is separate. It is other than. It doesn't exist in my world. This is Bitcoin. This is what I'm running. This is what I choose to run. And on top of having this ability to verify and enforce the rules of Bitcoin for yourself and all of your holdings, you also can run other great Bitcoin applications on top of on top of your node. So you can have your history of Bitcoin, but then you can run things like Lightning apps and all these cool little visualizations of, oh, here's all the transactions going through and the blocks and what are the fees, and you can do all kinds of interesting things on top of that. So here on the screen, I've got a few things that you can do. Number one, simplest way, if you just want to get a copy of the Bitcoin blockchain and you just want to link your wallet to it, you can, for free, on any computer pretty much, you can just download Bitcoin Core. It will go and it will download every transaction in Bitcoin's history. You can even set it so that it doesn't retain all of that data, because it is, does anybody know what the blockchain's at? How big is it? No? 500, yeah, 500 or more gigabytes. So if you don't want to eat up your entire hard drive with that, or a good portion of it, you can set it so that it starts from the beginning, it downloads about 2 gigabytes of data, and then as it moves forward from that point, it discards everything previously. So it's still verifying every single thing, all the previous transactions, but it discards it once it's been verified, and you just keep the most recent 2 gigabytes. So this is a free option that you can do on a good computer. It might take, I mean, on this Mac, it took less than a day to fully verify. On an older computer, it might take a week or something like that. It can vary, but you just kind of let it do its thing. And that's the free option. The one that, if you want to get a little bit more serious and you want to have a dedicated machine and be able to run applications on top of it, I mean, there's no better people than the people that were just here outside, Lex, Bitcoin Mechanic with Start9. Those guys are absolutely knocking it out of the park. I love everything that they're doing. I think they've got some exciting things in the pipeline. But yeah, Start9 is incredible. The ethos with which they're operating is amazing. So whenever I'm asked now, I typically say, like, that's maybe somebody you want to look into. I love everything that they're doing. So check out Start9, but there are lots of options out there. It's important that people recognize there's tons of different options, and there continues to be more and more competition, which is great. Nodl is a big one. Umbrel is a pretty user-friendly thing. Raspberry Blitz, MyNode, Ronin Dojo, and all of them kind of have different features and focuses. Ronin Dojo is very privacy focused. Umbrel goes with like the usability first. Start9 is working from like a solid foundation and is now moving to like the heights of usability is like the focus now. MyNode's been around for quite some time. They're doing a really good job. I have not tried Nodl. Raspberry Blitz, a little bit more techie, but they have a user interface that's a little bit easier now. All right. Privacy, CoinJoin, coin control. It's a contentious topic for a lot of people, so I'll try not to be too risque here. But it's likely that you already have some Bitcoin obtained from KYC services, exchanges. Furthermore, whenever you use or spend Bitcoin with someone who knows your identity, it can lead to them and other third parties painting a picture of how much Bitcoin you own. So to preserve the privacy and minimize those associations, you may want to explore CoinJoin and start learning about coin control, which is specifically selecting which Bitcoin to spend in certain instances. Privacy is a spectrum, and it's nearly possible to perfect it, but don't let that deter you from getting better. So there's a lot of things out there. I'm just going to kind of blanket throw out some things that are, we'll say, privacy improving, and there's a spectrum there. So up top there, you have Samurai Wallet / Whirlpool. That's also integrated into Sparrow Wallet. You've got Join Market. If you run a handful of the node options out there, like Start9, Umbrel has it, I think. You can run Jam app on it, which makes it a little bit easier. There is Wasabi. There is Lightning does have some privacy benefits. It's not as cut and dry as everybody makes it out to be, but as a sender, you've got greater privacy. There's also something interesting, if you haven't dove into it, called state chains, and that's what that blue logo is. That's Mercury Wallet. I'm not going to go into the details of what they do, but a totally kind of different realm of how to deal with privacy. What I wanted to say about Bitcoin in general, one common misconception about how your wallet actually works is that you just have a balance, and when you receive a transaction, it just changes the balance. Like a bank account. It's not like that. It's a lot more like dealing with cash. So when you have a wallet and somebody sends you, let's say somebody sent me, I don't know, 1 million sats, and then somebody else sent me 5 million sats. I don't have just one chunk of 6 million sats in my wallet. I actually have 2 identifiable, quote unquote, pieces of Bitcoin sitting in my wallet, much like if you had a $1 bill and a $5 bill in your wallet. You can actually differentiate between the 2 things sitting there. And there's an implication there with privacy, because if you were to go into a corner store and you wanted to buy a candy bar for a couple bucks, if you pull out a $100 bill and you go to spend that, the cashier doesn't just see the $2 you paid for the candy bar, they see the $98 and change. And with Bitcoin, it's actually a little bit worse than that, because not only then do they see the change and you take the change back, but wherever you go at that point forward, when you spend that $98 in concert with other coins, they can then track that on the blockchain. So if you take that $98 and that $98 is spent together with 20 grand for a vehicle, that person can see that. So that's why things like CoinJoin are so important, because what it does is from that point forward, after CoinJoin, it breaks the link from what you had to what you do from that point forward. So that cashier that saw the $98 of change, you go back, you mix that, you go make a spend. They have no visuals into that. They have no idea. It doesn't undo somebody knowing that you had the $98, but they have no idea what happened next or what other Bitcoin it touched. And that's the help with CoinJoin. All right. Lightning for payments. Maybe ignore Moon for right now. I love Moon, but there's issues happening. Okay, so Lightning for payments. Lightning Network continues to grow. It's especially important right now. It allows for cheap/instant payments while also allowing for some privacy benefits. There's some great non-custodial wallet options for mobile. Breeze and Phoenix, I feel like they've done a pretty good job in the high-fee environment, not without issues, but they're sorting through it. And again, it allows you not to have to rely on a custodian. Moon, I hope that they get it sorted out, because the interface is fantastic, just having a singular balance and not having to necessarily differentiate between on-chain and off-chain. For advanced users, if you're running a node, you can create your own Lightning channels. So if you're familiar with Lightning, you're basically creating lines of liquidity. You're locking up Bitcoin between you and other peers. And you can not only pay that peer as many times back and forth as you like, but you can kind of 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon it, and you can bump down to wherever they're connected to and whoever the next person is connected to. And it's like this web, this spider web of liquidity, being able to send money through everyone's peers. So what you can do is you can have a node, and you can say, okay, I've got some Bitcoin locked up between me and this person or this company and this person and this person and this person. And when you send it a payment, boom, 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 it gets to its recipient. You can set that up yourself, and then you can link a mobile wallet to it and use it anywhere in the world. I bought a copy of Thank God for Bitcoin on my phone using Zeus Wallet, which is linked to my Bitcoin node with liquidity channels I set up back in Canada. I did that when I walked in the room here, which is very exciting for me. I was very happy about that. And it worked great. My wife, I set her up with a segregated account linked to the same node. So you can be an Uncle Jim, which basically means like taking care of friends and family, being the Bitcoin guy or the Bitcoin girl in your group of friends. And you can actually, I just did a tutorial on this, you can have your Lightning node and say, all right, mom, you've got a Lightning wallet too. You don't have to rely on Wallet of Satoshi or some other custodial Lightning wallet. Instead, you use my channels. If anything goes wrong, then you can come to me and I can fix it up for you. If anything goes wrong with Wallet of Satoshi or some of the other custodial options, they can rug pull, I don't know how many users they have. So it's an option for there. But if you're just getting into Lightning, download Breeze Wallet, download Phoenix Wallet, one of the two. Start playing with that initially. All right, Bitcoin circular economies. I love this. As I said, I live on Bitcoin. And this is part of that self-sovereignty, creating relationships with people around you so you can get goods and services for Bitcoin. You don't need to rely on third parties that are then going to convert your Bitcoin and then make the purchase for you. So there are many ways to begin living on a Bitcoin standard. Some, obviously, websites and initiatives you can use to remove yourself from the fiat economy are btcmap.org. If you haven't been to this website, it's awesome. It's aggregated basically all of the historical instances of shops that have been accepting Bitcoin, but it's crowdsourced in that if you can, download it. It will show you in your immediate area and anywhere that you go. Any business that at some point has accepted Bitcoin, you can go there, check if they still do, and then you can send in an update to the app and they'll implement it and say, oh yeah, they still accept it. Oh, they actually also accept Lightning now. Or no, they did it in 2013 as a marketing shtick and it didn't work out. Okay, they're out. But it's constantly being updated and it's a great resource. The Beef Initiative. How many people familiar with the Beef Initiative here? Nice. Yes, what Texas Slim is doing there, incredible. Meet your local rancher, source your beef. I saw it down here in the States. I was very jealous. And I'm not even kidding. I tweeted out, God, I wish there were, I wish the Beef Initiative was up here in Canada, in Alberta, where I live. And I said, are there any ranchers in Alberta, or does anybody know of a rancher in Alberta that would accept Bitcoin? 3 minutes later, I had somebody in my DMs, hey man, I'm down in the south of Alberta, I'll sell you a cow. Yeah, yeah. So we bought a freezer. It's stocked with beef now. He's my beef guy. Yeah. And I've got an egg guy now. There's a guy with like 20 chickens out the side of the city. My barber. I've got a whole bunch of different people. There's somebody to the north that has full chickens and pigs and all kinds of great stuff. So anyways, Beef Initiative is doing great work. The Bitcoin Company. They're great. You can get gift cards and stuff like that to fill those gaps where maybe you can't just walk into the store and get all the things you need. Bitrefill, same thing. They did have bill payments, but I think that's not on there anymore. But anyways, you can get gift cards, prepaid MasterCards, things like that. So there's things you can do. The most exciting development in my mind is the rise of people offering goods and services for Bitcoin because they actually want to keep the sats. They want to keep the Bitcoin. It's no longer a marketing shtick like it used to be 2014, 2015. People just want better money. And I think that has huge implications for society. I think that it forces people to create better products because people with Bitcoin are actually consciously thinking, do I actually want to purchase this? Do I actually want to part with my sats? And you got to give them a good reason to. If you're a business owner, you got to say, no, my stuff is top notch. It'll last you for a long time. If you don't do that, you're not going to make many sales beyond the initial sale. So get to your local meetups, mingle, see what business owners are accepting Bitcoin, and of course, accept it yourself. I found no better opportunity than hitting my local meetup regularly, and I've now made it a point every meetup that I go to, beginning of the meetup, hey, I'm looking for the following. I'm looking for beef. I'm looking for eggs. I'm looking for a bakery, I'm looking for whatever, and I want to pay in Bitcoin. Does anybody do that here, or does anybody know who does that here? And inevitably, you're going to have somebody. I actually know a guy who has a bakery, and I've been talking to him about Bitcoin. I think he might actually. And so you'd be surprised between the people in the room and all the people that they know, how you can build your own local Bitcoin community and basically get your needs met with sats. All right, last little thing that I want to touch on here, multi-sig. This is getting advanced. Some of you may have been into multi-sig already, some of you not. Basically, when you have your coins stored in cold storage on a hardware wallet, you have a backup written and stored in a separate location. So what happens if somebody kicks in your door and threatens you with a $5 wrench? Or what if somebody finds your written backup? It could mean that you're kissing your sats goodbye. It could mean, well, I don't want to get hit with that wrench. I guess I'll just open up my wallet and send out all my Bitcoin. So you can make this type of attack impossible. So multi-sig is effectively a digital vault that requires multiple geographically distributed keys to unlock. So what's the easy option if you want to do this? If you want to have a vault that requires 3 keys, you're going to keep them all in different locations so nobody could kick in your door, get 1 key, and take all your money. It'd be impossible. Easy option is collaborative custody. So this would be a company holds 1 key for you, and you hold the rest of the keys. And what that means is that they have like a just-in-case key. You've still got enough keys to move all the money by yourself. That vault, by the way, that hypothetical vault that maybe requires 3 keys, or sorry, that has 3 keys, it would require 2. So you have a vault, there's 3 little key slots, you need at least 2 of them turning simultaneously to unlock your money. Well, the company holds 1, that means they can't move the money by themselves. You hold 2, you can always move the money by yourself. And if you mess up, if you lose one of the keys or the backup to the key or both of those things, you can still go to them and say, hey, I messed up. I lost almost everything. I lost one of my hardware devices and both of my backups. I lost 75% of all the stuff I was supposed to hold near and dear. You'd still be okay because you can get them to sign or to unlock with the other key. Now, the trade-off here, up until recently, was privacy. Unchained Capital, Casa, both good options security-wise in terms of, yeah, you're going to have distributed keys, but you also KYC with them. So that's a trade-off. Nunchuck, however, has created a multi-sig option where you don't need to provide any KYC. So just an email address, and that could be any dummy email address. And it also has baked-in inheritance planning, stuff like that. So there are non-KYC options that are collaborative, but you can also do it entirely self-sovereign. You can set up your own multi-sig in a variety of different wallets. Things like Blue Wallet, Sparrow, Spectre, Lily Wallet's another one. Nunchuck, you can do your own multi-sig. One thing I'll say is just beware of user error. Do not overcomplicate things. If you are worried you won't be able to gain access later, or you don't fully understand what you're doing, keep it simple. So a quick recap here. I've got 1 minute and 20 seconds. There are many ways to level up on the way to becoming a self-sovereign Bitcoiner. Obtaining non-KYC sats, holding your own keys, securing Bitcoin with hardware, running a node, using CoinJoin and coin control, using Lightning for payments, creating your circular economy, and perhaps diving into multi-sig. I have video tutorials step-by-step on literally every single thing I just said. You can find them online, just search BTCSessions. And then the thing that you're looking to learn. I hope that you all honed in on at least a single point where you said, okay, that's what's next for me. These are some great books you should check out if you're going down the rabbit hole. Maybe take a picture really quick if you want some quick reading recommendations. But the Bitcoin Standard, The Price of Tomorrow, The Seventh Property, largely underappreciated. Check that one out. Sovereign Individual, The Fourth Turning, The Block Size War, anything by Knut Svanholm, Magic Internet Money by Jesse Berger, 21 Lessons, Layered Money, Inventing Bitcoin, and Economics in One Lesson. Key takeaway, one step at a time. Don't worry about being perfect. Just focus on improving, and that's the takeaway I want you to have today. That's it. Right on the second I finished. All right. Thank you very much.